So yeah, we have this really exciting panel. Today we're actually going to talk about resiliency. And we've had a lot of great topics that have been discussed so far throughout this event, right? We've talked about when to use automation, kind of what the future of the technology holds. And the hope here is through this panel, everyone can just get a very practical sense for how folks are thinking about implementing automation, right? We've a range of folks, a couple customers on the panel, a couple folks who are still thinking about what the best methodologies are to bring automation into their companies. And so just want to bring in a variety of different perspectives here. And hopefully we have a really great conversation. So let's start with you, Elizabeth. When you hear automation, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself and my company very quickly. So my name is Elizabeth Dominici. I'm the Vice President of CX Operations at a company called TriNet. And we service small and medium businesses across the country for their HR and benefits and payroll. And so we have a lot of small business owners calling us, and we have their employees calling us. So we have two different audiences that we're servicing. So we've got both the B2B and the B2C that we're servicing through our contact centers. When the pandemic hit, it shifted a lot for us, actually, because prior to the pandemic, we actually had a lot of people in our offices that then would travel often to visit our customers. So we were more on site. The pandemic led us to a spot where we all of a sudden sent everybody to work from home, and we are interacting with our customers via more of a contact center. So we became a contact center very quickly. So I have about 450 folks in our centers today, and we're managing a lot through AI. We've been actually building a lot of things with AI in the past 2 years since that time. So we do everything from using RPAs or robotic process automation at the front end. So when customers call us or chat with us or email with us, we use robotic process automation for our routing capabilities to get things routed to the right team, whether it is an employee of this small business because they have certain questions and needs, or if it is an owner of a small business because they have other questions and needs. And then we do a lot right now with natural language processing, which is a little closer to what we understand with AI when we heard about Alexa a few minutes ago. So that was great. But we actually use it in our quality team. So we have a quality team that, of course, is listening to our call recordings, reading our chat scripts. And we have been implementing NLP there. And we're looking for keywords, because we want to retain as many customers as we can. I'm sure a lot of you are like that. And so what we're actually looking for in that model that we've built is we're looking for customers that are either upset, they say, hey, I want to escalate to a manager, they want to review their contract, they say, oh, I want to leave your service. Any of those things we've built into some models, and then we're actually handing those right over to account managers to then reach out to them the next day, those customers. So we're using a couple different things there. And then we're also doing a lot, as you can imagine, we're doing a lot with trying to deflect a lot of our volume into the center through chatbots. Our chatbots today are still getting more intelligent, because since we just started this process with the contact center about 2 years ago, we didn't have a knowledge base yet. So we've also had to build a knowledge management team who's now building knowledge articles and building that knowledge base. And so we had to launch a chatbot that was a little unintelligent first so that we can get some content behind it. And our goal is to actually get that much more advanced into where we go. So those are 3 different ways that we're using AI today. I also have a data science team that reports to me. So not only do I have the centers that report to me, but I have our data science team as well that reports to me, as well as our process improvement team. And we actually use those teams kind of hand in hand, because as we're building, if we start to notice we're getting the same types of things escalating all the time, we either send it to our process team to see, maybe there's more training, maybe there's a new SOP we need, or, hey, can we automate this and just really get it out of the hands of our people and get that content to the customers faster through using some of our different models. Our models are getting smarter and smarter. We use a lot of machine learning capabilities to get those models built. And then the last one that I will mention of how we are using some of those AI technologies is we actually have built a model that's very predictive, and it helps analyze things coming in from our customers, and it helps actually feed to our colleagues kind of more information than the customers even told us, so we can be prepared and be more proactive and ask questions in advance or before we're wrapping up a call, almost think ahead of what the customer may need. Because what we're trying to do with our contact center, since we came about post-pandemic, is we're actually trying to get back to when customers call in, they actually have a relationship with us. And we're not just there answering the one question they asked. We're actually there to actually get ahead, know them a little bit more, maybe even say, hey, because we've pulled data in from other sources, hey, we saw that you just got funding for your business from this and this. Hey, you might want to also think about this thing, or hey, have you thought about this for your payroll? And try and actually build some rapport by being able to provide advice that they haven't even asked for yet.
That's really comprehensive. It sounds like you've got a lot of stuff going on. What kind of organization or team do you have to support you? And maybe talk a little bit about, is it kind of pretty cross-disciplinary? Talked about data science, but who are some of the other people at the table?
It's really interesting. So we work heavily with our telecom team. We work heavily with our engineering team, and then we use Salesforce pretty heavily for our CRM platform. And so we've got various teams that are also working there. So we're working pretty cross-functionally with those teams. Not all of those report into my organization, so we really have to work with them hand in hand. And then, even with our IVR and IVA, we have to make sure that those things are really working with us. And from time to time, we just went through a hurricane. Hurricane Ian actually affected quite a lot of our colleagues, a lot of our customers that are in the state of Florida. We had to work with our marketing department and some of our communications departments because they wanted to put certain messages out there to the customer. And we had to, utilize some of the same telecom resources, engineering resources to make sure that we were actually popping things up for the customers that were in certain regions or sending things out to them through various avenues proactively to remind them, hey, yes, you just went through a hurricane, but hey, we actually still need to make sure we're paying your employees and we're making sure payroll is happening because that's what we're there to do for those companies.
That's fascinating. Anyone else have thoughts on kind of what does automation mean for you, or any insights that kind of came out of what was just shared?
She took a lot of it. I think just in terms of automation, just making people's lives easier and really focusing on letting people focus on their jobs and what they need to do and let kind of the mundane, the repetitive tasks be handled by automation, but also making sure that things are flowing appropriately throughout your organization.
And I think too that just looking at it, in the technology area, but looking at it and going to the business and saying, okay, how can we improve the customer service? How can we improve the agent experience? How can we hit those priority pain points that you're dealing with and help lower that by implementing some AI in here, whether it's internal facing or external facing. AI can be there to help. We don't want it to distract or deter. We want it to help.
Yeah, I think that a lot of myths happen at Marriott International. Our associates are very passionate about ensuring that we're giving the best travel experience. So making sure that automation isn't that I'm going to replace your jobs. It's automation is I'm going to make sure that whatever your interactions you have with our guests is the most meaningful, that it's powerful, that it's a true human connection. And so automation isn't the replacement, it's not the enemy, it's the friend.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you kind of mentioned that, human agent collaboration there, right? It's not the system that's just working in isolation. It really has to work in concert with other systems, obviously with your agents, and we've talked at length about that during this event. But Ryan, I know this is a topic that's kind of near and dear to your heart. We had a great discussion about it last week. Do you want to share a little bit about Benefit and just some of the work that you've been doing in this realm of just getting that human agent collaboration to work really well?
Sure. So Benefit Technologies, you guys might know us as Medicare Coverage Helpline from our TV commercials. But we run 5 large Medicare sales agencies and call centers, staffed to about 1,000 agents. Starting, our Super Bowl starts the 15th of this month, runs through December 7th for our open enrollment period. So really our focus is making the agent to be able to be more efficient as possible. So different types of automation that we have in place are smart routing, making sure that, so we have 3 options when a call comes in. One is we check our queue, make sure we have an agent to take it. If it doesn't have an agent available, we ping a BPO. If a BPO doesn't have it available, we'll sell the lead. And so that way we'll monetize something with that lead. Once it's into our queue, we have a screener process where basically we've created this automated flow where the thinking machine will run through a series of questions and qualification steps to ensure that the person calling is eligible to purchase from us and that they have Medicare AB, they don't have TRICARE, a series of questions. And then once the machine qualifies them, it passes the lead to the agent so that they know they've read the disclosures, they can really just pick up in the sales process. And once it gets to an agent, we have a different automation technology that is dynamic scripting, and it's a model that basically has taken 20,000 of our call records, both good and bad, and it predicts for the agent the next best response to an objection that the consumer might give, which really enables the agent to become proficient in sales in about 90 days versus a typical 6-month window. And then, it just really helps get that process going and overcome their fears. And it makes them more comfortable throughout time. The other piece that we've done is we've replaced we used to use for our after hours when we're closed, we had a physical answering service that would capture name, address, phone number, get consent for us to call them. They would enter a lead in Salesforce. Next day we'd dial it. But today the machine has replaced it, collects all those data points, passes it through our API into Salesforce. The next day that call gets dialed as a hot lead. But it also, so we've completely replaced that manual process. Now the interesting thing is that the human intervention had a 20% pass-through rate, and the machine has a 30% pass-through rate. So for some reason, people are more comfortable leaving that information with a machine than they are a person.
That's fascinating. And, this is something we've actually seen a few times when it's confidential information of some kind. There's just certain types of data that actually people are more comfortable giving to a machine, which is really fascinating. You said something else that was really interesting there, which is, you kind of had to do some work to get agents to adopt the technology, right? Can you talk a little bit about that, your process, how to kind of get them to feel like this technology was on their side?
Yeah, I've been on a constant Teams chat this whole day. We piloted the thinking machine with this process with 40 agents. A lot of the agents, we fumbled the deployment, to be honest. We didn't engage the agents. We didn't really explain what was going on. So we're working to retrain them to make them understand the process, because they'll say, well, Replicant didn't do this or didn't do that, but it's really not the bot. It's how we pass the data in or how we're interpreting the data. So we're working on retraining all of the agents so that they understand once a call gets to you, all this has been done. You can ignore it. You don't have to start from scratch. You just start selling and try to close that deal.
Yeah, it's great to hear it. Yeah, it sounds like that agent training piece is so critical here, and it's definitely something where there needs to be a true partnership. And
yeah, and just making them understand truly what the machine's doing.
Casey, we had obviously a great lunch conversation about some of this, but I know one of the topics that you're really passionate about is just, how do you think of the role of a contact center within an organization, right? It's often regarded as a cost center, but there are ways that you can elevate it from being just that, right? Just a big line on your P&L to actually being something that's a revenue generator, something that provides a lot more value than most executives might think about. Can you talk a little bit about that, your philosophy on this, and just some of the ways that you think automation can actually accelerate that change?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoyed our conversation. It was really engaging. I look at this as three different things. Contact center can be cost savings, revenue, but it's really ultimately about the customer experience, and that always has to be top of mind. On the cost center side, it is easy for automation. So I'm responsible globally for the IVR and then the strategy for chat messaging. My peer, Karen Mitchell's in the audience, and she owns the CRM side and the actual deployment of the chat messaging. And so as we look at it from a cost savings, yes, my team will focus on the deflection and the containment of calls. So if someone calls in through the voice channel and we can provide self-service automation for them and help them get resolved and not have to wait online for an associate, that's a fantastic win, because it costs more for us to obviously staff people, provide benefits, hire, retain, all of those things. So we can absolutely do a cost per contact and save that and be able to say, I can save you this much volume every year. A lot of companies will maybe work with different solution providers, and the solution provider will come in and say, I can give you 100% deflection. I can give you 80% containment. And then they'll kind of whittle their way down to be like, oh, that was a really bad idea. We should probably scale back on that. What we do, because I've talked about this travel experience and Marriott International continues to grow, is we started at the bottom and we said, we'll start with 0% containment and we'll test a few of these cases. We'll see what the experience is like, and then we'll add on to it. And so we've grown our containment from an opposite direction, but it seems to be what's worked well for us. Yes, that is cost savings. We also book reservations. So there's a sales conversion rate that will drive revenue. And that's a really exciting space. Now, when I came to Marriott International, although I've been in this industry for over 27 years, most people will have worked there for 30, 40 years. So there's a complete paradigm shift in how we've worked with the value of our associates versus this new technology. And so there's a responsibility to help educate everyone on what the value can be. And don't give up. Like, just because we don't understand it, don't turn it off. Let's figure out what can we do from a revenue perspective. So yes, if we have payment processing, we can book those reservations. So really the selling point is, how can we ensure that the associates get their volume and they get their conversion? How do we work across the board to calculate those things into how do we do our conversion overall? Because if it doesn't consider the digital or the automation side of the house, we're missing the boat, because it just means it's a transference. It's also just really understanding. So ultimately, when I come back to the customer experience, whether we're doing cost savings or we're driving revenue, ultimately, what does that look like for our customers? Do they call in and they know that they're going to get self-service and they don't want to talk to somebody? Fantastic, we can offer that self-service. But if they genuinely want to talk to an associate and they want that meaningful experience of, I really want to book the dream vacation, we want to make sure that they are enabled to be able to talk to our associates to have that just as much. So I really look at it as kind of a 3-tier process across the board.
Yeah, and you talked about kind of your experience building large-scale CRM systems and all of these technologies from the ground up in your career, right? Can you talk a little bit about how the automation needs to work with just a whole variety of other systems in order to actually realize that vision, right? Make it a revenue generator and not just a cost center.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, just the automation in itself isn't going to do it. It needs to work with the CRM system, needs to work with the integrations, and that's something you have a lot of experience with. Can you share some insight into how you'd get all of that working well together?
Yeah, it's definitely a business transformation model. Being able to talk to folks and being able to say, we can automate things, but it kind of starts like, I have to start at the beginning. Let me show you the data. I've asked every operational team, like, how many times have you had your agents do tick boxes or check marks or Excel spreadsheets where you're tracking what kind of calls came in, what happened, how did you resolve? So yes, we have a CRM system, but there's a lot of information that we can feed all the way through. So if I look at it in the IVR, we never want to ask the question, can you tell me your phone number? We better have that phone number. We better know whether you're calling from a mobile device, a smartphone. We want to be able to know all of those things. We want to associate to your Bonvoy account. So there's a lot of things that we're going to do behind the scenes with technology. And then we'll obviously try to resolve and do self-service. But if we cannot, we have to partner with our CRM and partner with our operations folks to be able to say, I could give you 50 items of data when the agent answers the phone. Would that be meaningful to you? And the answer is probably no, it's too much. But we want to avoid the question of the associate saying, how can I help you today? We at least want to say, so glad you're calling back. I can call you by name. Let's finish booking this reservation for you. How exciting. Did you want the corner view to overlook the ocean? So if we can give that information across the board, we do have to partner with several teams and look at the APIs responsibly. What are we doing with our tech stack? How well can we do it? How can we avoid lag times? What are the interfaces? What are all of the integration points? It's a large responsibility, but it makes it so meaningful when you continue to focus on the end-to-end customer journey, not just from a technical side, but from the customer side. It's definitely a lot of collaboration, and I think there's a lot of change management that goes into it, of bringing purpose for each of those teams. Like, I love our developers, but they are in a whole nother world than someone from the operations side. So how do we make it so that it's meaningful and people want to pitch in, they want to be a part of that solution?
That's great. And Elizabeth, you talked about some of this, right? Building this really comprehensive solution. It's the NLU, it's the knowledge base integration.
Yep.
That all feeds into the chatbot solution. Have you thought about it in this way too, kind of cost center versus actual revenue driver?
Yeah, we have. So for us right now, to be quite honest, our contact center is a cost center, but it is our service. That is really what we are selling to our customers. For our customers, yes, we process their payroll. We ensure that all their employees get paid. We ensure all the small businesses that our customers get their health benefits and they're able to go to the doctor. But then we're also selling the service of, they can call us and they can talk to an expert. They can talk to somebody that knows the answer to their question. And if they need to maybe fire a few people, they can call us and we can walk them through. Here's how you do that, and here's how you do it the right way. And oh, you're in the state of California, you got to follow these rules versus another state. And so, when it comes to what the service we provide in terms of HR and employee management and performance management and payroll, but it gets so complex because there's a different law for every government agency out there. There's different laws for every state. There's the federal, there's all the different cities and localities. And we don't expect our customers to know any of that. That's why they have us. And so for us, yeah, it is a cost center, but it's also what we're selling. And so we're able, by getting predictive, what I was talking about earlier, and helping almost be more proactive with our customers, we're actually helping retain them. And so that is where we actually help build some revenue, because we can tie back. I have a lot of teams running analytics and reports. We can now tie back after the 2 years of doing some of this. Now we have enough data to look at a trend, and we can now say to our CEO and to the rest of the company, hey, we're actually helping retain customers, where our retention rates are going up, and here's how we can tie it back. So our company overall, we haven't gotten to the point to say out loud we're helping with revenue, but we're getting there.
Yeah, any interesting frameworks that you'd care to share on kind of how you maybe framed up some of that analysis, or Is it like looking at things over a 2-year horizon and saying, here's when we implemented the project, here are the key inflection points, here are the cohorts of customers, perhaps?
I gotta tell you, I'm a very organized, methodical person, but if any of you, because we all went through the same pandemic, right? It was not planned out. We were flying by the seat of our pants for a bit because we went from a position where our customers were used to our people walking in and walking into their cupcake shop and walking into their technology office, and all of a sudden, everything was remote. And we went from a position of our colleagues being able to come back to the office, pick up things, go. I mean, we were slightly old school. I will fully admit that. And so we've had a lot of change really fast. And so I can fully admit we did not have a plan when it started. I wasn't even in this role when it started. I was in a completely different department in the company and got kind of put into this role. So I didn't even know what to do with a contact center, to be very honest. I have a background in analytics and data, and they put me in charge of the contact center and operations. And so it's been really interesting. We now have a plan from here forward. We now have a strategic vision, but for about 18 months, we were very reactive in trying to catch up with what our customers wanted. And I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but what we found during the pandemic that really impacted us is that before we had a contact center, our employees worked 8 hours a day. We worked pretty much 9 to 5. Well, all of a sudden, our customers were relying on us to give them answers. And so our hours have shifted. We're now open 18 hours a day with the bulk of our employees. And now we have a 24/7 cycle that we're open nights and weekends. And the newest thing we're starting to dip our toe into is getting some offshore and nearshore capabilities to go more global. So that it's just been a lot of change. A lot of change.
I'm sure everyone can relate to that here. So
yeah,
absolutely hear you. Did someone have anything to add on to that?
Go girl, that's all I can say.
it's been busy. Yeah.
No, and we've kind of talked about how it's kind of hard to plan out a really streamlined technology roadmap, right? It's a little reactive sometimes. You kind of have to solve the problems as they come up. It's a little bit like playing whack-a-mole, and all of the underlying systems also kind of have to play. You have to play whack-a-mole with those as well, right? And Beth, like being on the IT side of things at Global Payments, I'm sure this is something that's very near and dear to you, right? You're responsible for trying to anticipate the future direction of kind of where the company's going and figuring out where are the right places to strategically insert technology. And there's such a huge variety of things that you could pursue, so many different avenues. How do you kind of narrow down the technology investments that are worthwhile for the company to pursue? And how do you collaborate with the different stakeholders to make some of that a reality?
Well, being at Global Payments, we are a Fortune 500 electronic payment processor. And we have several verticals that we support. ECSI, we have Xenial, we have Heartland Payments, we have TSYS. And we're all going for the same common goal. Yay, I used the word, common goal. And we're going after helping our customers, consumers, and business achieve the process of payments for the world. And we have taken down countries before. I'm just saying, you can't even do your card at a gas station. We've messed something up. We don't want to do that again. So from an automation, more of a strategy perspective, I am so privileged to be in a role where that is all that I'm responsible for. I take the technology, look at what's in the market, understand it, talk with our business leaders, and then try to map out a roadmap. And I spent a couple of years in the architecture and transformation area as well as telecommunications. And the one thing that I've learned more than anything is technology should not go anywhere without the business. It's got to be collaborative.
Can I clap for you?
Yes.
That's awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
It is so important, and I have lived the good, bad, and the ugly over my last 30-something years. And so what I tell my team, and I mentor my team, and anybody that'll listen, I get chill bumps when I start talking technology. You know, you really have to partner with the business from a technology perspective. We're responsible for this grand ecosystem, and that ecosystem houses your voice communications, your CRMs, your call recording and compliance, and now we're bringing in the digital communications and the AIs and the robotics, and we're having to learn more and more to share these software technologies with the business, let them take control so they can be reactive based on what their business needs are hour by hour by hour. We can't lock those systems down. And again, when I say we, I mean the technology side of the business. I've spent the last 2 years working on a long-term roadmap with our business, trying to pull in some of our key technology stakeholders where we have silos out in the different areas. We just converted a large majority to our cloud. Now we're having to bring in AI to help improve that connection with our customers to enable them to do these redundant and automated processes that agents shouldn't have to be dealing with. So partnering with the business, number one. If you're on the business side, which 99% of you are, find someone in the technology side that you can partner with. Find someone who has an overview of the technology ecosystem used in your company, who you can begin to share your issues, your priorities, your opportunities for improvement, whatever you want to call it. Where are your pain points in your contact center? Even if you're talking to a telephony person, I am a legacy telephony person. My nickname is Legacy at work. Even if you're talking to them, it's not just about talking about one specific type of technology. You know, voice communications has been it for so many years. Open up the conversation and start talking about possibilities with AI. It's huge. They will bring in the other technology specialists. They should bring in the other technology specialists within your company to start a collaborative engagement, start a center of excellence. Mike, you and I talked about that. Create a center of excellence within your company to have an open discussion and start understanding what can we do within our company. Secondarily, I would say start small. Get momentum going. Don't try to start with this massive solution where you've got a customer out here that's coming in through a customer portal that then goes to Salesforce, but also goes over here to this knowledge base, but it's being recorded here with the analytics here, and your voice is here, right? Okay, let's just simplify that, and let's just start with a simple IVA that's going to answer and support simple, distinct solutions. Get the customers comfortable with it. Get your business comfortable with it. Involve your agents. Please involve your agents. You wouldn't believe how many times I talk with leadership on the business side. They tell me something. Then I go to your manager level, your team leads, they tell me something. Then we go sit with an agent, and they're all over the place. we're use this and we have to use this and we do this and we do this and we do this, and they're using 20 applications on their desktop. There's a reason they're doing that, right? So understand what those reasons are, bring that information back, and come up with a plan to solve for that priority pain point. That's what I've seen work so far. Once you get your priorities, you go back to your leadership and you align it with a short-term plan, which I consider 6 to 18 months, and then your longer-term plan, right, which is, I used to say 3 to 5 years, but you can't even hardly plan 3 to 5 years. It's more like 18 months to 2 years is your long-term, because the technology changes so fast. So just work on it collaboratively, have the right people collaborating together to get to your solutions. Gain momentum. Get some quick wins under your belt. Get something that's going to be able to show improvement and have the analytics to support the improvement. Don't just say, well, we're going to do this and don't have a way to measure it. You've got to measure it so that you can say, here's the success, or here's where we're building to a success, right? And then, I mean, momentum is huge. We put in an IVA for our gaming division, and it was just a very small, I would say small because it was only like seven intents, 7 flows. And they already have a list of 30 improvements that they're starting to work on. But now that they have the 7 in place, they can show the success, they can show it to their leadership, and now they're funding some of these other priorities. So get that momentum on your side. Once you have Big Mo, you'll have the show. So, sorry, I just made that up. It's bad.
I'd like to add to that a little bit. One of the things is, as you look at that long-term plan, is don't be afraid to call it as it is. If you don't have the technology, it's okay to say it.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, in order for us to move to the next level, we will have to invest in something more rigorous than what we have. I also like the roadmap planning, and I like making sure that people know, let's be brave and bold and ask those questions. It doesn't matter if we don't have the answer to all the questions today with technology or across people and process, but let's at least acknowledge what those questions are so that we know what that North Star is that we're striving for.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's fantastic. It's a great set of tips for everyone in the audience who kind of needs to partner with IT teams or just figure out how to get the right collaboration going to get a deployment that's large and complex, multi-year, up and running. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you. Yeah.